Someone said on my last chat with Carly that they missed our chats. So let's have another talk, you and I, about something that's going on in the bookish realm. Everyone on Threads is talking about Danny Frances and the Silver Elite novel that has come out. And okay, let's talk about it because I've been a part of that discussion slightly over on Threads. My Threads is no secret. You can find the information where the information lies if you want to see my posts. But it's creating some very interesting discourse. And let's just talk about how I land on it, how I feel about it. And let's talk. Let me give you a real quick backup of what's going on with Danny Frances and Silver Elite. Silver Elite is a new release by Del Rey, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House. And it released to the marketing of a dystopian romance. Now, first reviews came in for this book that were a little mixed, more so on the love it side, because it was very heavily marketed to people who already are fans of romantasy, people that really heavily promote SJM and Rebecca Yarros. They got the book, they loved the book, so it was releasing to a lot of hype. In a now deleted, supposedly this is allegedly, because I haven't seen it with my own eyes, I've only seen screenshots that I cannot confirm, Del Rey released the information that Danny Frances is the pen name of a New York best-selling author, which got people already wondering, who is Danny Frances? Now, for the record, I do not agree with doxing, but I also do have to mention that wondering and making assumptions and guesses as to who the author is not doxing. People are conflating the two, and there is no comparison. Doxing is very different than saying, hey, it might be insert famous author here. That is not doxing. Wondering, putting your wonderment out into the world, saying, I wonder who it is, not doxing. So let's keep that straight. But I digress. People were wondering who this author was. So when the wider realm of readers started diving into this book, which was marketed as a dystopian romance, it did start getting some lower reviews because it was no longer simply being marketed to people who already read books like Silver Elite was going to be, but marketed to or released to a wider range of readers who are a little bit more critical and not so easily jumping onto the bandwagon. And it is coming out with subtle right-wing content, white oppressor relationship with a bronze-skinned, very ambiguous raced person, character in the novel. And it's coming out with some more, not necessarily problematic elements, but some less desirable elements to a wider range of diverse readers. When I started seeing all these different aspects of Silver Elite coming out, especially very heavily on the subtle right-wing content, I had decided that I was in no hurry to read this book. Will I read it in the future? Only time will tell. But why would I read a book with subtle right-wing content? That is not my jam. I am not into that kind of at all. And thus I released a thread that said, I don't really care who Danny Frances is because I don't. All I needed to know is that there's subtle right-wing content within this novel. And I have seen several people stating this, not to mention people on my post confirming that have read the book, that it does indeed inhibit some subtle right-wing content. So it's not on my radar, not interested. But it did spur some interesting comments on my threads that I also want to talk about. First of all, I don't have to read, nor does anybody have to read a book to know if that book is for them or not. When I see very reliable people coming out telling me that this book contains insert item here that I'm not interested in, I have every right, as does every reader, to decide that that book will not be for them, regardless of whether I've read it or not. And saying that the book is not for me based on this information is perfectly valid and does not need any more further context. But I had a very large collection of white women in my comments saying, read it for yourself or you don't know what you're talking about. I was called an ass. I was called a bunch of things because I said I wouldn't read a book that was reported to have right-wing content in it, and to make such an assumption without reading it for myself was just apparently not what they wanted to hear. And to absolutely no one's surprise, I had a mixture of, once I started going through these accounts that were giving me these comments, once I started going through them, it was a mixture of people who had no pictures of themselves, which tells me one thing, and then also pictures of just white women, every single one of the timelines or feeds or what have you, their walls had SJM, Rebecca Yarros, Tilly Cole, Kate Stewart, all of them read problematic content. So I already don't care about your opinion because you already consume problematic content in large quantities. Of course, you're not going to notice problematic content within Silver Elite. If you do not read diversely and if you do not actively look into the authors that you are reading, your book recommendations are not going to be for me. And that's okay. That is absolutely okay. You do you. I'm not here to tell you what to read, what not to read. I will always inform and educate, and what you do with that information and education is completely up to you. If you continue to read those authors and continue to act in a way that allows you to consume problematic content at the expense and harm of minorities, you're just not going to be for me, babes, and that's okay. I won't interact with you. And the fact that that angers so many people, that I don't want to be in community with people who don't care about the content they consume, I don't know what to say about that because there's really nothing to say about it. And then on top of the subtle right-wing content and the oppressor romance subplot that's going on in this book, I am hearing from several critical readers that read a lot of dystopian that in many ways this novel doesn't even meet the basic criteria to be considered dystopian. It's missing some very key elements that make dystopian. So ultimately, I just really feel like this book is not going to be for me. I am absolutely not their prime market reader. I did not hear anything about Silver Elite up until the point where people started really heavily critiquing it. And I think that is because my timeline is extremely diverse. I do not see a lot of the SJM Rebecca Yarros kind of content, which seems like that is the group of people that are most into this book, Silver Elite. So it would make sense that it wouldn't be on my radar. And it would also make sense that Del Rey would not have sent me this book because I'm not their market. I'm not their target market for sure. Absolutely, I'm not. So it makes complete sense, which also makes it make complete sense that it's something I'm not interested in. Del Rey knows what they're doing when they market a book like this. A big publisher knows what they're doing. They know how to hit their target audience, and I'm not it. So, well done, because I am definitely not the target audience. I probably will not be reading this book at any point soon. I have so many books I know will be bangers that I just don't have the time to read a book that I know I won't vibe with. So yeah, that is the discourse currently going on. I loved the chat. Let me know what you think. Are you going to read Silver Elite? Has the situations coming out surrounding it at any point turned you off to it? I definitely also have a little bit of a pause, not even a little bit, a big pause, in the fact that I don't know who this author really is, and I am very conscious of who I give my money, dollars, and time to when it comes to authors and who I read and who I promote. So the fact that I don't really know who it is also makes me kind of like, I don't know. Why would I pick up a book that has so many issues plus an unknown entity in who the author is when I could pick up a book by an author I know aligns with my morals and values and I'll enjoy a whole lot? There's just not a lot of draw for me. So let me know what you think. Put it in the comments.